Amanda from Little Angel Theatre, and today I'll be reading The Christmas Nisse, Chapter 4, Magic Spells. Bruno and Annalisa had barely had a chance to say good morning to each other when Mrs. Watson walked into the kitchen. Bruno clumsily fumbled the lid back on the biscuit tin, with Annalisa hidden inside. "I saw that, Bruno. Don't think I didn't see that." Bruno turned around to face his mum, doing his best to hide the biscuit tin. "Saw what?" He tried to look as innocent as possible. "Give me the biscuit tin now," demanded his mum. Ping! Bruno knew there was no point arguing when she was in this kind of mood. So, with a feeling of deep dread, his trembling hands gave her the tin, hoping that for some reason she might not open it. But, of course, that's exactly what she did. And she was certainly not pleased by what she saw inside. "And what is this?" asked Mrs. Watson, looking sternly at Bruno. He decided it was probably best to say nothing. Mrs. Watson emptied the tin onto the table. "But careful, Mum, you'll hurt her," he cried. "What are you talking about, Bruno? Hurt who?" Mrs. Watson asked. Then Bruno looked at the table. All he could see was a half-eaten chocolate chip biscuit. He picked up the tin and looked inside. It was empty. He stared wide-eyed first at the table and then at the empty tin. What was going on? Where had Annalisa disappeared to? "What have you got to say for yourself, Bruno Watson?" demanded his mum. Bruno just stared back at her. "That tin was half full yesterday," Mrs. Watson continued. "How many biscuits have you had this morning?" "I thought I could trust you, but obviously I can't. We agreed your limit is 2 biscuits a day. 2! It's for your own good, to keep you as fit as a fiddlestick, and you have just made a complete pig of yourself." Bruno tried to explain that it wasn't him that had eaten all the biscuits, but his mum didn't believe him. Not for a moment. "And who are you going to tell me it was then? Father Christmas?" Not a bad guess, Bruno thought to himself, but he knew his mum well enough not to say it out loud. He could tell her the truth, but what would be the point? He knew there was no way she would believe him if he told her it was a Nisse, a kind of Christmas elf, who he had hidden in the biscuit tin, but had somehow magically disappeared. No one would believe that. "I don't want to have to do this, Bruno, but you give me no choice. It's upstairs to your room, and no more television. I'm going to take it away, and you won't get it back until you've learnt your lesson." Bruno had no choice but to accept his punishment, even though he'd done nothing wrong. He went up to his room, closed the door, and threw himself onto his bed. He didn't realise he was being watched. "Unfair!" Bruno yelled into his pillow and punched his duvet with each shout. "No fair, no fair, no fair!" Then Bruno heard a faint sound, very much like a ping. This was followed by the sound of a familiar voice. "It happens many times that life is not fair, Mr. Bruno. Life more interesting this way. We just have to dealing with it and carry on." Annalisa was sitting on one of the shelves of his bookcase, munching a chocolate chip cookie. "How did you do that?" asked Bruno. "Do what?" "How did you get out of the biscuit tin and onto my bookcase?" "Easy peasy," she said. "You have heard of magic spelling, yes?" Kind of," said Bruno. "I close my eyes, wish myself upstairs, spell the magic word and tra-la!" "Just like that?" asked Bruno. "Of course. I spell out DISAPPEAR to make myself disappear, and APPEAR to be seen again. It works in any language, but you have to spell it correctly or it works not. It's important for us Nisse to be super good at spelling. But I forget. You know not anything about Nisse. Annalisa was about to tell Bruno all about herself when Bruno heard his mum calling him. They had to leave the house straight away or they would be late. It will have to wait until tomorrow, he sighed, and he went to join his flustered mum.